But what I want to do for now, I'm going to go ahead and get us started a little bit. And instead of calling out two people through this whole thing, and Ethan, I'm just going to jump into a little bit about things that I think are important. Number one, who am I? I'm a home builder by trade. I'm a certified master builder.
Watch your elbow.
Yeah, good call there. I'm a South Carolina broker in real estate. And also, I was in 40 Under 40 and Pro Builder Magazine back in 2017. I'm a nationally traveled public speaker, so I've done a lot of this. Spoke at the International Real Estate Expo several years ago. I'm a podcast host for the Leader Mentality Show, so enjoy the things I do. One thing that I do think is cool to talk about, no matter how big a room is, I like to start off with a little bit about knowing thy customer. And if we're going to sit here and talk about aging in place, universal designs, accessible housing today, I think one of the biggest things is to really understand who your customer is. And in aging in place in particular, guys, knowing your customer means knowing two sets of people. It's not just the people who may be paying for it, but it may be their elderly parents, or it could be the elderly children who are doing it for the parents. So in the world of DISC, if you haven't heard much about it, has anybody heard of DISC before? These personality assessments. The biggest thing is, if you're familiar with it, I just want to dive into a little bit about how we apply it. So CORUS is a recapper. Your D is your driver personality. Very demanding, very abrupt, sometimes come off as cheap personality-wise. You have your I's. This is your influencer personality type. These are the ones who are usually very open with their emotion. I've gotten very careful over the years not to talk about these people as extroverts versus introverts, because you find introverted I's and you find extroverted I's. And usually people just think, oh, that person's really talkative, so that's an I. Not necessarily. But the key here is they make connections very quickly. So I like salespeople that are I's because they make these connections. But when you have a customer, you need to know what they are and what their influences are. Then we have our C type, that's your compliance type. By the way, here's an interesting thing. What do you guys think most builders are by nature? I may have given away by stopping here. It's your compliance type. And D's. There are a lot of D type personalities, but your compliance type is very big. And it's interesting because we tend to talk to people how we like to be spoken to. It's like the golden rule, but the golden rule is wrong when it comes to sales. I've been telling salespeople this for years. It's the platinum rule. You need to speak to people as they like to be spoken to. You need to treat people as they like to be treated, not as you like to be treated and like you like to be spoken to. So as builders, most of our builder community are analytical, cautious, they've got very direct plans. They're structured. And so you're meeting all these different kinds of people. I want to appeal to my people that I'm trying to sell to. So that's something. Come on in. We need some people, man. Come on in. I'm just getting warmed up. And then we have our S type. Your S type are supportive. We also call them stability people sometimes. They're usually very good listeners. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the customer types themselves. Because when you are talking about aging in place and you're trying to convince somebody as to why this may be a good route for their elderly parents or the elderly parents, and again, directly, I want to know how to get to them. First thing is with the D type. Usually D's come off as cheap, okay? Why do they come off as cheap, do you think?
Very black and white.
They're black and white, and specifically, they like to win. A D likes to win. Michael Jordan was one of the famous D's of all time. Tiger Woods was a D. What were these guys' MOs? They like to win. It's painful to lose. So the idea is with a D, the reason they come off cheap as customers, and usually we as salespeople feel that is, you go into the room, you have a gregarious start to it. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're from Tennessee. You're blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, we've already been through all this. Can you just give me a price? Yeah. And so therefore, they come off cheap because we're thinking, well, they just care about the price. But really, the deal is they're here to win. They're impatient. They're demanding. So I remember this. I have to know what's my connection point with these people. But usually, just as a little side note tip, if you ever get these people, some people tell me the hardest person to sell is a D. I believe they are the easiest people for me to sell because I know how to diffuse them quickly. The D is the one who comes in, they're like, yeah, I've already talked to 4 salespeople. I just need a price. I go, that is perfect. Let's walk back in the backyard then. I want to see exactly what the other guys were doing so I can make sure. You want an apples to apples price, right? Yeah. And when I say this, most everybody will always say, of course I want apples to apple price. And I go, perfect. So let me make sure. What's the other guy doing with your soffit up here? And he's like, Well, I mean, he didn't mention it, but okay, gotcha, perfect. What the foundation height? Is he going this height, or is he going to step it down a little bit? Now we're talking about aging in place, so don't get too stuck on my semantics. But my point is, I am getting him to slow down and realize this is not all about the price. Me, in this case, being a D, my win might be getting the best product, and that's where I switch it to. Okay, so now I got my I types. A lot of people think selling I's is easy. And actually, they are more hard to sell than most people. Why? Well, the I is the one who you get into the house at the beginning of the day if you're doing an on-site appointment, and you go in and you say, hey, I'm Rob Clemens from Carolina Bays. How you doing? And they go, hey, Rob, come on in. Would you like a glass of coffee? Blah, blah. And I'm sitting here going, whoa, okay. And I say, well, hey, are you a Wisconsin Badgers fan? Yeah, gone there for all these years. Where are you from? And, this is your I type. Why? They're making a connection. Now, here's the biggest problem with I. The sales process. From my experience, and I and you are making such great connection that what happens is you leave, and I ask the salesperson later, I go, how did it go? Oh man, it's great. We talked about cars, and we talked about football, and he's also a Washington fan like me. And you go, awesome. So, and did he sign? He's like, no, he's thinking about it though. I'm like, okay. And then he calls back like 2 weeks later and says, hey, I haven't heard from you. How's it going? Oh, hey, Rob. Yeah, have you thought about doing the project yet? He's like, well, yeah, we went with somebody else, but man, I sure do like you. We should catch a Redskins game sometime. I go, well, my God, man, I didn't want to catch a football game with you. I wanted to sell you a product. Here's what went wrong. You're making all these connections with this I type, and you never landed your plane. You never got to that point. Hey.
We got your phone.
You got my phone? Thanks, man. All right, so I didn't know I didn't have my phone. It's all right. I'm in the zone, So anyway, but the idea is, you keep that. What are you?
No, I haven't seen this credit card.
Yeah. Well, the credit card. Anyway, she's like, this is the most magical recording ever. Anyway, no, come on in, guys. So the thing is, with an I, here's my tip to you. When you have the person who's asking all the questions, and they will do this, guys. They'll ask you all those questions. My tip to you is to stay on topic and hit something. There's a key detail in every I you've ever met. What's an I personality type? Think like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey from The Mask and all that. If you're trying to sell him, he's going to be off on all these tangents. Here's the thing. It's a simple message. You want to do this because everybody's doing it. You told me earlier you're looking for something for your parents. I'm going to tell you what everybody else is doing. They're doing this thing. And I'm telling you, with an I personality type, without them even realizing it, that's a huge decision maker. How do I know? I'm an I. I'm an ID, okay? So when people tell me, Rob, you got to upgrade to the iPhone 14, you didn't have to tell me all the specs. You didn't have to tell me how durable it was. But why did you like it? Oh, it's just the best phone ever. I take all these pictures and all that. Stay off the details so hard with an I. Because if you get too deep in the details, you get too deep off on their tangents, you're going to lose the sale and not even know why. All right, so my next thing is I get into the C-type personality. Now I said these are compliance. They're very analytical. They're a little bit suspect of everything you say. They're going to fact check everything you say. Do you know how you know when you're talking to a C-type personality? Anybody got a clue? All right, I'm going to tell you how. Because a C-type, people say C's take notes. That's partially true. Like she's taking notes back here. I could say, well, maybe she's a C because she's taking notes. But here's the real answer for a C. When you're dealing with somebody you're trying to sell them, here's how you know if they're a C. They already have questions written. If I see them pull out a notepad and they go, oh, I have questions. I was reading about, now I'm dealing with a C, guys. So here's how I sell a C. You have to know, what are they? I already said they're cautious, they're analytical, okay? They're already suspecting I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to detail the hell out of them. That is the one of these 4 personality types. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Hey, you said you're thinking about doing new windows in your house. Let me tell you about this window. We have a 7/8 inch thick glass pack. It's got low E3, which means blah, blah, blah. It's got SHGC rating of blah, blah, blah. C's care. Nobody else does, but that's what will sell you with a C. Okay, and I don't want to get too deep on a sales presentation because we're supposed to be talking about aging in place, but I'm going to wrap up with what is a S type? Support. Here's my biggest tip for anybody who ever wants to sell a support person. First, how to identify them, then how to sell them. A supportive person, when I'm talking to a group, I know who they are. They are great listeners. They are fantastic listeners. And they're also very, very much about stability. They want to know that you care about them. Okay? Charles over here, Chad, I know Chad for a long time. What are you? You're a D, right? So if I sit here and go, hey man, you doing all right? Oh yeah, I bet your parents are, he doesn't care. He's like, what's the price, Rob? All right? And he loves his parents. It's not about that. He's here to win. But look, if I'm talking to Jennifer back over here, she might really care about how's mom going to do. So I'm asking her questions, and man, that's going to be tough. Your parents are getting older. I bet the whole family's stressed about that, right? I lower my tone. You'll notice I'm a kind of an action guy. I lower my tone. I do a lot of like listening. I have been known to sit down and just sit down and have a conversation. The details, again, aren't as important. It's about knowing your customer and really making the connection. So guys, these are my tips, and I didn't want to get too deep on it, but Jennifer, I want to give you a quick bit to talk a little bit about your company. She is our sponsor. It's Jennifer Basilico, and if you want to just tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So I'm Jennifer Basilico. I am the Director of Business Development for Banner Installed Sales. Some of y'all may know us, may work with us. We have 4 locations, brick and mortar, in the state of South Carolina. We've got 4 in North Carolina. We're capable of servicing siding from any of those locations. We do work with our custom builders, our production builders. We also do commercial work. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, we'd love to talk after Rob and Ethan do their thing. Now Ethan's coming up next, and he's got a lot of good points for us today.
Absolutely. Only Ethan has a lot of good points. I don't have any. She just said, so just take it out. I know, I'm playing with
Rob's a D, so I'm
she, very well done. Well done, man. Mwah. Okay. Yeah, she's a listener too. So that's good. So anyway, why are you guys here? Why did you sign? You could have signed up for anything. The lieutenant governor's in another room speaking, but you still came to hear about aging in place. Anybody have any reason why you are here today?
I mean, it's a huge part of the market for us, at least.
Okay.
So, and I mean, I would say probably close to half of our projects that we bid are people interested, because we're remodels. So
Yeah.
We especially are focused in, like, everybody's wanting to know, how can I stay in my home? How can I,
Yeah.
like, or can I bring my parents into this place? Or,
Yeah.
some element.
That's huge. Well, and I appreciate that. So a little bit of what she's saying is, I don't need to sit here and convince you necessarily on why. I'm still going to convince you on why. Okay. And then Ethan's going to take it home with a little bit about how to apply it. But some of my stats are going to be real quick here. The population, and I'll make sure I get out of your way here. The population has been getting older and older. And we already know this, but sometimes I like to see stats to back it up. It says the population of 65 years and over by size and percentage from 1920 to 2020. You look at that number there. In 2020, look at that. You have 60 million people. That is almost 20% of our population. You went back just to 1980, and you see these numbers here. We are growing every single year. Every year they're finding out ways that you can live longer as a person. So here we are, and he was just showing, John was in one of the last presentations, he showed us what did a 50-year-old look like, 20 years ago. And it was, it's almost comical, Did you guys know, anybody ever watch Three's a Company? I think it was Mr. Furley or Mr. Roper. He was like 52 years old. I mean, when as a kid watching that, I figure he's like 80, right? And now I'm almost his age. So you start thinking about that and you go, people are living longer. So how does that look? What does it mean? Well, to me, it means we have to be prepared for this. We have to get people that opportunity to live longer in their homes and enjoy them. So aging in place. We're going to talk about a few things today, accessible housing, but I specifically want to start off with this. Aging in place, the reasons. 1, the desire to be independent and maintain control of a personal space. You want to feel confident in mental health and ability to take care of oneself. You want to have a quiet residential area. Look, at some point, guys, we got to quit being so intellectual and we got to think about the heart, Traditionally, I'm not up here to brag, but traditionally I close about 70% of the people I meet. And I believe it usually starts off with that connection. I got to understand what they're looking for. I think about these people who are getting elderly. And if we're agreeing that people are getting older, and maybe older has a new definition now, we have to at least understand this giant part of the market, it's a concern to them. 20% of the market is already starting to think about their mortality. I heard a great speaker one time. He was a person that came on my show at one point, and he's been on the Dr. Phil show. He's written a lot of books. He told me, he said, it was kind of an interesting way. He said, we live our first 50 years of life learning to live. And he said, we learn our last 50 years of life learning to die. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to put it, but you start thinking about your mortality. You start thinking about, like, what's this look like? Well, how do you apply that as a salesperson? All great sales start with understanding your person. What is the need? What is the fear? What is the demand? So we start there. It's like they want to live in a quiet residential neighborhood. They don't want to live in a place where they feel like they're on their way out, right? Feeling safe in one's own neighborhood, man. You've been living in this house for years. It's sentimental. It's protective. They want to be there. Independence, financial savings, increased physical activity. Look, if I'm looking to sell this product, I will recommend to you guys this. Know the reasons. Because I learned years ago in sales, they said to me, once you understand, you always start off with, hey, why do you want to do this? Why do you want aging in place? Why do you want replacement windows? Why do you want a new sunroom on the back of your house? Why do you want a swimming pool? And when they tell you those answers, what is your job? What is your job? Your job is to show how you are going to solve all those answers. I mean, it's a super simple formula, but I meet so many salespeople who fail. And I'm trying to figure out why. Well, it's because, oh, blah, blah, blah. My product is this. My product is that. No, I go with, you just told me you're worried about your neighborhood being safe. Well, let me tell you something. I'm going to keep you in your house for this many years. And also, I think based on that safety factor, have you considered having some kind of a monitor where you can quickly alert your family if you have a problem out here? Simple solutions, right? Okay, so here is something, if you have a chance and you are interested, there's a QR code up here, and I can send this to anybody later if you know how to reach me. This is a full list of aging in place checklist. I don't have enough time to talk about this today because Ethan's going to be taking over in a moment, but there are things that are very, very basic when it comes to stuff like aging in place. I'm going to give you the hot buttons you're usually going to hear, but this one is a beautiful list, guys, because it goes through checkpoint after checkpoint. And if I'm in great salesman shoes, I'm going to go through this list. And I'm going to go through it with my clients. By the way, here's another little tip I have for anybody if you're selling homes. One of the reasons that my company has a real estate wing and a construction wing is because I knew that everybody already has a real estate agent. Okay? Everybody has a real estate agent. So if you go in, and I knew my realtors would go in and say, hey, you're thinking about buying a home. Do you have an agent yet? Oh, yeah, of course. My mom's an agent. My sister's an agent. You know, everybody knows an agent. So I said, scrap that. You're thinking about buying a home. Have you ever considered buying new construction? And most people are going to say, well, I thought about it, but I think it's too expensive. Hey, man, I think you'd be shocked to know that it is not as expensive as you think. Let's have a sit down. And now all of a sudden, what have I done? Now I'm going to have that sit down for a new build consultation. I'm going to find out what their wants and needs are. I'm going to say things like, you know, do you want to be in a gated community? I'm writing down all these notes. What's important to you? Oh, you want a swimming pool. You like a low country style house. Well, guess what they're doing? They're telling me everything I need to know to sell them. And we did it through a consultation, but by the end of it, maybe I'm going to build them a house. Maybe I'm not going to build them a house, but I know exactly what they're looking for in a home. You know what? Maybe home building is not right for you, but let me show you a couple of ideas. And I'm right there with them. I've got a client. Am I making sense? What I want to do is I want to give you guys some tips here, whether you have a real estate company or not, is regardless. What I'm saying is start with a consultation. Consultations are great. Nobody wants to talk to a salesman. Oh, hey, let me come over to your house and sell. You know what people are thinking when you say you're going to come and do a home sales appointment? They're thinking, when's the hard sell coming? Yeah. Hey, what have I got to do to get you in this aging in place today? Ethan, here, let me get my boss on the phone and we're going to see what we can do for you. People don't want that. It's 2024. Everybody knows you don't want that. So what you do is you say, we have a consultation. It's a free consultation. It's complimentary. I just want to see if this is a good fit for you guys. So you go through a list like this and you'll find things. Now, spoiler alert, the biggest things are they're going to talk about grab bars and showers. Okay, they're going to talk about accessible doorways. You need to have doorways that are how wide? 32 is on the minimum, 36 is preferable, right? 36 with the jambs and everything, it leaves you enough opening to get the wheelchair through, okay? Now here's the great thing for the builders in the room, and I'm a builder, so I know there's a lot of builders in here. You can start it right off the bat. You should be starting it off the bat, right? You should be starting off with, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Johnson, I believe that, yeah, and we don't want to talk about age too much, right? We don't want to insult anybody, but you should think about doing 36-inch access doors to all your bedrooms, all your bathrooms, right? Starting with the basics. So that's a key detail, but when you're doing it, I want to explain to them, this is for accessible housing. This is for accessible. Why? Why is accessible important? Well, they sell for more money. It's a good checkpoint right there. And by the way, I don't want to go too long because I told Ethan I'll be here for 20 minutes. I could be here for 20 minutes on one slide. Easy. All right, so let's keep moving. The need, think about the cost of healthcare. I thought this was a crazy stat. And Jennifer and I talked about this the other day. This may even be low, but this is what national standards say. They say in 2024, the average national cost of assisted living is roughly $56.65 per month. That is $68,000 a year. Now look, if I'm trying to convince somebody on why something might be good, or if I'm trying to convince them on why to buy my house, let me be your builder as a specialist. Well, let me show you how to save $68,000 a year and enjoy your home for longer. Would I pay a premium to save $68,000 a year? Oh yeah, I would. This is reality, guys. Look, I don't know how everybody else in this room is, but at some point, either you're gonna have to pay for this cost of living for yourself, or you as the kid are gonna have to pay for your parents' cost of living for yourself. It's a real deal thing. It's a real deal fear. So you gotta know the numbers and understand the need for this. $68,000 a year. Can I make $5,000 of improvements? And we were talking about some lower numbers earlier, but could I do $5,000 worth of improvements? Zero barrier shower entry. Could I do something like that? Do some wider doorways and still help you to stay in that house a lot longer and save $68,000 a year? Yes, please call me, okay? Demand, what do people want? 9 in 10 adults prefer to live at home in their later years than in an assisted living facility. 9 in 10. Now I'm gonna throw a bunch of stats that you're probably like, duh, man, no kidding. But we gotta remember this. So here's the point of why I'm gonna beat your head with these stats. Because if all these things I'm saying are true, people are living longer, this is what they want, why are we not marketing this? Who in this room, and be honest, is actually marketing, I build accessible homes? We got 2. That's fair. I appreciate the honesty because it'll be easy for everybody to be like, yeah, I do. But I'm telling you, if you're not, you should be doing it. That should be a big part of your elevator campaign. This should be a big part of everything we're doing because why not, right? If I know the interest is there, I'm going to do it. You want a cheeseburger, I'm going to sell you some food, right? Okay, 8 in 10 older adults currently live independently in their own homes. Kind of good to know. 83% of seniors say they feel safer in their homes than anywhere else. Isn't that interesting? The U.S. Census Bureau estimates only 10% of American homes are aging ready. Okay, now we're getting to something. All right, so I've got 90% of the population wants this, 90%, and only 10% are ready. Does anybody see an opportunity here? Okay, you should be, all right? If you see the opportunity here, not just for new homes, but also for remodeling, here's the trick. I'm giving you all the tips you need right now. I want to set myself apart from the competition. What do? I create a product that the competition doesn't have. What doesn't the competition have? Well, according to this, somewhere around 90% of the people aren't getting what they need, okay? So what most people do is a failure, and I'm going to tell you, I saw a stat on this not too long ago. They said that there is a builder disconnect in this country. There is a builder disconnect for what we think the people want and what the actual people want. And you know what happens? It is a, bless you, it is a trend that starts going in a certain direction, guys. What happens is the tried and true thing was quartz tops and this and this and this, and that's what people want. And then all of a sudden, the market's shifting a little. People are finding out they want something different. But the builders keep going, and it takes you a little while to catch up. It might take you 5-6 years to catch up that, oh, it just changed. Remember how back in 2003-04, polished brass was all of the rage, right? So everybody puts all this polished brass in the house, and guess what? Like by 06, nobody wanted polished brass. I still walk in, does anybody ever walk in a home that's been built and you go, oh, this was in 08? How'd you know? Well, planter shelves, right? Nobody wants those things anymore. So my point is builders, we tend to do what's tried and true. That's what all business people do. I'm going to copy the crowd. I heard this once. He said, when you copy the crowd, you are guaranteeing yourself competition. Said, you copy the crowd. When you do what everybody else is doing, you are guaranteeing your competition. Do what nobody's doing. I see the stat. Guys, it should be speaking to you. Put it in your marketing today. Last thing, recent census data suggested that 30% of households now live with their adult child or multi-generational households. Jennifer and I talked about that the other day. What is a multi-generational household? Well, a multi-generational household, I believe that your website should include these. If you have plans on your website, I believe they should include these. I'm going to say it one more time. Your website should include these. Have a whole section of multi-generational. It's coming, guys. People have less money. And you know how we talk about like back in the 60s, before a lot of us were around, they said, you know, dad could work, mom could stay home with the kids. And then what happened now? What do we say? Now you have to have like 2 breadwinners. And guys, the way it's going, we might need 3 breadwinners, right? We might need the kids to move back in, our friends to move back in. And I'm being serious. It's reality. So have some plans. Like if you look at this one up here, it has a living area, an in-law bedroom, a future kitchenette, and a accessible bathroom all in one spot. And then the rest of the house. And here's the thing. What do you see? 3 garage stalls, right? And when's it cheapest to do this change? Well, when you're building a new construction. So Will, I know Will's Classic Homes over here, local custom builder. I don't know if your website has it, but I would incorporate this. I'd have a whole section to it. Mediterranean homes, low country homes, accessible homes, multi-generational homes. Why not, right? This plan is what people want. And even if they don't need it right now, they're gonna want it.
It's all business.
You feel me?
I mean, yeah.
And
That's why we remodel, because it's like, because their original plan, even the house they built 10 years ago, did not include this.
so here's the thing, and this is one other tip I have for you before I get the heck out of here. And I got 2 or 3 more slides, but I'm gonna tell you something here. When you have somebody that comes in, trust you. They trust you, or they should trust you. We talked about why do people pick somebody? Because they trust you. So here's my biggest fear as a custom home builder over the years, as any salesman over the year, is that you buy something from me and I see you in a year and I go, hey, how you doing? And they go, oh, I'm doing well, love the home, but God, I wish I would have done this thing. That hurts me. It hurts me. I feel like I let you down. You know, you bought a new car. It's like, I wish I had the rear, cameras or whatever. It hurts me. I feel like I dropped the ball. So here's something that I would do at my new home consultation. I'd say, look, you say this is your forever home. Have you ever considered an accessible home? Have you ever considered multi-generational living? This little bit of square footage doesn't cost you much now, but I have this talk with people. I do remodeling as well. And I'll tell them, hey, if I'm doing a new construction right now, maybe I'm between, on the very, very cheap end, $220 per square foot, on the very expensive end, maybe $400 per square foot. But if I'm doing a remodel, guess what? I'm probably twice that. Okay. So save some money today. Let's get ahead of this game. Okay. I just want to throw out a couple last bits just so you know what kind of accessibility are there. Well, there's universal design. This is homes that are built to be accessible for people of all ages, right? It's not just about people that are handicapped or aged. And we have to be careful, right? Because people don't want to be lumped into groups. Like it's 2024, I'm not this, I'm not that. You don't want to be lumped into groups. Well, let's not lump them in. Let's understand. Universal design means I'm making my home more accessible. Aging in place design, these are homes that let people stay in their homes longer as they age. Adaptable design. It's kind of cool. It can be adapted to your resident type. What's the simplest example of that? It's that flex room. It's the flex room. Right now, it's an office for you right now, but when you retire in a few years, this might be something else. We should be talking about this. Use this terminology in your talks. It'll make you sound smart. Okay? Anyway, all right, barrier-free design. This is one of the biggest things. Look, there are people that do have problems getting into rooms, so you get ahead of the game, okay? Few things, like I said, I didn't have much time to talk today, but there is some advantage to people who are looking at doing these types of homes. There are programs, there are FHA loans, there are VA loans, USDA loans, Fannie Mae loans. Just check it out. I've got a website up here that you can look at and it will go into depth about different options. But when you're having those discussions, you want to let people know, look, one thing is that we know about home building is that not everybody can afford it. And one thing I loved about John Hunt's speech, for anybody that got to hear it earlier, he said what? He said that there is a massive, massive need for homes in a certain price range. And here's the great thing, guys. People need a certain price range. They need a certain kind of home. They can't afford them. Where do you come in? Well, the great thing about these is some of these loans, like that Fannie Mae Home Ready loan, it's for people that already don't have great credit scores to get special financing for it, to get special approvals for it. So you get an ability to get somebody in there. And these homes don't have to be large. They just have to be what? Accessible, right? So Last thing, and then I'm going to get out of here and let Ethan take over. He's a lot smarter than me, so it's going to be a lot better from here out, right? All right, so marketing. Position your company for success. First of all, understand there's some PR benefits of this, and look, that's not why we're going to do it, but there's some PR benefits. Look, I care about you. I care about your family. I care about the community. I want to help out people that have special needs. One thing that was great, I was talking to a lady. Anybody ever meet anybody who's been had a family member with autism or known anybody with autism? It's a hard thing, man. It's a hard thing. So I was talking to the Champion Autism Network, and she has created a global, well, I should say at least a national network now of making quiet rooms for people with autism. So by the way, as I'm talking today, think outside of the box, man. It's like, what could you do for somebody who could have a quiet room that's got extra insulation in it? That's what I mean when I'm talking about universal design, guys. I'm talking about, like, think bigger and think about what it could say about your company. Hey, we cared about people. We know people needed this. Come to Carolina Bays. That's what I can give you, okay? Offering a product that has limited offerings in the market. We're talking about low supply, high demand. What does that do for your prices? It's pretty good if you haven't ever studied economics. Position yourself as an expert in the field. This is a huge takeaway. And please remember this when I say this. This is a massive takeaway. I'm an expert in this field. Here's why. I've committed to years of doing it. I have a lot of clients that have done it. I've changed some lives with this product. Be an expert in your field. There's nothing that's wrong with that. You know, but that might be the reason they pick you. And I'm always trying to look for a competitive advantage. I told people the other day, I said, sign up for your master builder. If you're not a master builder, sign up. Because I drop it. Sounds like you're bragging, but I drop it. People say, hey, tell me a little bit about your company. Well, look, I'm a certified master builder in South Carolina. There's less than 40 of us in the state. So, I mean, you know, I'm not saying anything about those other guys, but I've committed to a higher level of standard. I want to set myself apart. Think about doing this, right? By the way, master builders who might have gotten here a little bit late, don't forget to sign up later. See, I do my job, right? All right. And then the last thing, community relations. This is a tip I have for you, okay? Go out in the community and talk about this. Once you've gotten this concept down and you understand what it is and you understand the value of it, go create those connections. Talk to lenders. I am shocked that people don't spend more time talking to lenders. Hey, look, I just want to tell you a little bit about why my company's different than a lot of the ones you talk to. I actually specialize in universal housing, aging in place, and accessible housing. And they go, oh, well, what's that mean? Well, it means if you have somebody coming in here and they're trying to get pre-approved for a loan, that they might say, well, we have somebody who's just moving back in with us. We might have a kid with some special needs, and so that's why we need it. I know a guy you need to talk to. He'll do a consultation for you. Can you guys in this room just promise me you'll think about doing this? Because I'm telling you, man, this could be the key to making your business the forefront business for the next years to come. So definitely good. And for those who just came in the room, I have been Rob Clemens. It's been nice to meet you. But anyway, hey, Ethan's coming up soon. But my phone number and email address are up on the board. You guys, I'm the state president this year. That doesn't mean much. It just means that I'm committed to this industry. I love this industry. This industry has made me who I am as a professional, and I'm grateful for the Home Builders Association. Anybody ever needs it, my help. You have ideas you want from me, I'm here to pay it back, right? So that's my cell phone. Come see me anytime. Ethan's up next. Thank you guys for your time. Right. Yep.
So to get started, Rob has already kind of given a lot of kind of the condensed version of what is, the certified aging in place stuff. How I kind of stumbled on this was, I'm a young builder, I'm 31 years old. I was looking at the NAHB website, trying to figure out how I can grow, how I can learn, how I can add these letters at the end of my name. And well, NAHB for what seems like the past 3-4 years has kind of taken all of the other designations and done away with them and said, hey, we're going to take them away, but we're going to bring them back. We're going to bring them back better. But CAPS, C-A-P-S, Certified Aging in Place Specialist, was actually still available. And so I looked at it and I said, you know what? 90% of my customers are retirees. They're 55 or older. They're coming to our area. They're building their last home. This actually makes a lot of sense for me. This is something that I should probably look into because, I always tout that, I'm always learning new things. I'm always trying to do what's best for our customers, talk about best practices, stuff like that. And my customers are literally one of the segments of people that need this the most. So this is my presentation on, this CAPS course that I went through. So yeah, CAPS, it's about certified aging in place. There's many different market segments. It's not just old people. Ironically, what you will find is that we are all aging. I have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, my wife's 31, my mom is 62, my dad is 74, I have grandparents. All of this actually applies to my whole family, and it actually applies in really more ways than one. So what we're going to do, kind of the agenda here, and this is also similar to kind of how the CAPS course works. If you're not actually a certified aging in place specialist and you're more interested in becoming one, this is a very, very, very condensed version of what our course has at the NAHB. I think it was 3 days, 4 hours long every day, about 200 pages in PDF textbook form that we went through for those 3 days. But really at the end of it, it's actually really rewarding and useful. So we're going to talk about how do we communicate with aging in place clients? What are these design concepts? What are the things that they actually need? And then how can we actually bring that full circle, implement it in our builds, whether it's a remodel, whether it's new construction, whether it's a specialty industry like elevators, lift products. So, like I mentioned, the question, who is aging in place market? Well, it's literally everybody. The diagram over here, it's meant to be a little funny. It says, so who is aging? Well, the left side says people immune to aging, people that don't think they're aging, okay. And then the right side says people who, excuse me, people immune to aging is on the right, people immune to aging is on the left. They both intersect. Why do they both intersect? It's because everybody's aging. Now, as Rob mentioned, one of the most important things to keep in mind is that most older adults are actually interested in staying in their homes as long as they can. Some of the benefits listed here is cost savings. I believe Rob's slide said it was about $5,900 for assisted living. Assisted living is different from assisted living with memory care, or I don't know the exact term, but less assisted living, but still in a community of a place for older people to live. Another really interesting concept is that we say that people would prefer to stay in their home because they're very familiar with their home. Makes sense. They may have lived there for the last 30 years. I know my grandma, she had her home built in probably 2004. She still lives there. She lives there with her sister, not her sister, her daughter, who takes care of her. It makes sense, saves her money, and it's familiar. She's got memory issues. So, and I have a lot of slides, so you guys can read. I don't need to read exactly all these to you. What challenges are we facing? Well, most of the homes are older. The homes on the market are built from probably anywhere from the early 50s to even the early 2000s. A lot of them don't account for aging in place criteria. What I am seeing as a new home builder, I only do new home construction. I'll flip my name tag over. What I'm seeing is actually a lot of elderly parents who are retiring, and their kids who have kids are actually wanting to move to Myrtle Beach. I build here in Myrtle Beach, and they're wanting to build a home together, but they still want their separate spaces. Now, what I'm calling that and what the market is calling that is multi-gen homes. It's actually pretty interesting because typically there's a higher price point because you have someone who is retired, who has equity in their home, they're moving here. You have working parents who have good jobs, but they realize they want to be close to their mom and dad so they can take care of them. And then the kids, they get to enjoy it all because eventually it's going to be theirs one day. So that is typically the challenges. Now, the different types of aging in place clients, there's 3 types that our NAHB kind of defines for us. The first is the traumatic or the immediate need. The second is someone that may have a progressive condition. Third is someone who is without any need, but most typically we kind of call them planners. So this is traumatic change needs. What this means is they need immediate accommodations to allow them to live in their home, to have independence, and also to have comfort in the home. Now, if you don't take anything away from this and you work with an older generation, whether it's remodels or new builds, please look at the stat here at the bottom. This is saying that falls are the leading cause of industry with adults who are age 65 or older. Now, injury and death. 1 in 4 adults will fall each year over the age of 65. The other interesting thing here, 36,000 deaths is what will happen in 1 year. $3 million in ER visits, $1 million in hospitalizations, and a $50 billion cost to the Medicare and Medicaid budget. That's 75% of our Medicare and Medicaid budget. So, what that tells me is that if we can stop the falls, we can keep people in their homes. So, things to consider, they do have urgent needs, but they may not have, let's say, that, that nest egg that they can, help pay for these things. And the other big takeaway for them is they need very clear and immediate solutions. Next type of client, progressive needs. These are ones that, let's say, for example, they're listed diabetes, ALS, Parkinson's, all the others that everybody knows about. The stat is 1 in 4 adults have some type of condition that aligns with this. The most common condition is going to be a cognitive difficulty. Now, let me back up a little bit. Chronic or progressive conditions don't necessarily require modifications today, but they will require modifications as those conditions get worse. The types of challenges that these progressive conditions, these clients that are having progressive conditions, are typically 3 types. The first is mobility, orthopedic conditions, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, spinal cord injuries. The biggest solution is, hey, what can we do to get them in the home? A 0-step entry, not having steps at the front door. That would be one of the best things to implement as a new home builder. The second type is sensory impairment issues. These are visual or auditory issues. Solutions are always going to be improved lighting, illuminate the switches in the bathrooms and the kitchens. If you have smoke alarms, make sure that you are doing smoke alarms that are visual indicators and audible indicators. And then the last one on the bottom is use levers, don't use knobs. They can't grasp. The third, cognitive issues. So these are, people with memory care issues like my grandma. It's short-term or long-term memory dysfunction. The big solution I see here is actually clear panel cabinet doors or doorless cabinetry, because they don't know where their plates are. They don't know where the cups are. So then they get confused and they forget that they're hungry. The other thing is whiteboards. Write out the day. What is today? It's January. Today's not January 1st, but write out the day so that they have something to look back to instead of asking the same questions over and over again, which were probably things that we've experienced if we've ever dealt with that. So the big kind of takeaway as to how we kind of communicate with them is usually they are aware of their needs, but whether or not they're going to accept their needs or not, that's kind of the big thing that we're going to encounter as builders. So yeah, definitely a challenge to navigate. So the type that I like to deal with the most is the segment where these clients are without urgent needs. There's 2 types of these. It's typically a procrastinator, meaning they're in denial that they're getting old, Or there's also, you're laughing over there, or there's also planners. The planners we typically find have taken care of a loved one. Maybe it was a mom or a dad, or maybe it was a brother or a sister. So they've kind of been through the life experience of what it's like to try to get that person through that. So planners, now this is kind of a little, high point list here for planners. If we can incorporate these things into new construction builds, this is awesome. This also works for remodels. A zero-step entry from the street or driveway. That means, hey, when they get home, let's get them into the home without having to get over a step, okay? The next big thing, interior doors. The doorways are going to be the most commonly addressed item, especially in a remodel, trying to open up the doorways, allow people to get in. You need 32 inches minimum of clearance. If there's any obstructions that reduce it from 32 inches, it's not going to work. And also the lever handles. So again, grasping is an issue for older clients or clients that maybe have arthritis. Hallways, 36 inches minimum. We want to keep our thresholds really to 0 if we can, but if we can't, less than 1/2 inch. Using grab bars, accessible bathrooms. We'll talk about that later into the presentation. And then also locating your switches 48 inches or less. Think about it, if somebody's in a wheelchair or a mobility device, whether it's a scooter, if the switch is all the way up here, which it's usually not, but if it is, they can't reach it. So keep those things in mind. Now, this is a very touchy subject because a lot of people aren't trained on how to actually communicate with these clients. So here's a couple kind of slides on how do we communicate, how do we sell these things. I think the biggest thing is actually the do here, highlight the value for others. And the example is, levers are meant to open doors easily with arms full of groceries or maybe luggage. Don't say levers assist those who can't grip anything. That would be a negative. Okay, so focus on the pluses, focus on the pros. The other things, zero-step entries. The example is zero-step entry is great for easily rolling a baby stroller, which I have and you have, or luggage. Don't say zero-step entries assist those who may be in a walker or in a mobility device. All right, I have a lot more to get to. So here are some common mobility questions. So actually okay. So when you're evaluating a customer and their need, whether it's a progressive need, an immediate need, or really a planner, if they have mobility issues, there is a list of questions that you can ask. Obviously, you would want to kind of listen in and hone in on what their actual issues are. But for example, the first question says, what specific mobility challenges do you face on a daily basis? Okay, is it getting out of bed? Is it using the restroom? The next one that I like is there a specific time of day where mobility is more or less limited? May very well be in the morning, may actually be in the evening. The client may not actually realize it until you ask them the question. So sensory questions, the one I like here is, are there any specific triggers that worsen your sensory challenges? Okay, so is it a bright light, a loud noise, a strong smell, things like that. Cognitive questions, are there any assistive devices or aids that you've used that have been helpful? Is it a whiteboard? Is it, a timer to remind you to, take your medicine every 4 hours or whatever it may be? So lots of questions. But here's the thing. So one of the big key takeaways is us as builders and remodelers, we're not at this on our own. We also need to engage healthcare professionals. Typically the most engagement you'll have is probably with an occupational therapist, maybe a physical therapist, especially if there's mobility issues. but you definitely want to bring them in. And there's other legal issues and concerns about that. So take the course, take the CAPS course, get educated on what those concerns may be, because it gets into HIPAA and all this other kind of fun stuff that nobody wants to deal with as a builder. But the big takeaway here is listen to your clients and listen to their healthcare professional before you're presenting a suggestion for a product or for a solution. If you come in as a builder or remodeler and there's someone in a wheelchair and it's a 2-story home and you start spouting, stuff about needing an elevator or a lift or, the little thing that rides up the stairs, they're not going to have trust yet. They're not going to trust you because they don't know you. They haven't told you their story and you haven't told them theirs. So listen to them. Some of the skills that the NAHB lists is to have active listening skills. Show your empathy. Ask open-ended questions. Observe their nonverbal cues. If they're not kind of engaging with this, you need to see that. And then also the big thing here, especially with the healthcare professional, is make sure that the solutions are collaborative between the builder or remodeler, the client, and also the healthcare professional, because those are the most likely to be implemented. So Rob kind of went through some of the different types of design. The one that I typically strive for, because I'm a new home builder, is universal design. Accessible design is also a really good one to work with, and also adaptable, because we have clients whose needs obviously change. So I'm gonna hit the high points of universal design. If you look at the photo here, I know it's not the best lighting in here. Kitchen's normal, right? There's nothing odd, or there's no grab bars, or there's no ramps or anything weird. And that's what universal design is. The bottom bullet says it's virtually invisible in the home if it's done well. And the takeaway is, hey, it should be usable by all people. So anyone who comes to visit should be able to use this space. Adaptable design, again, as clients age, as their needs change, you can help this space adapt to those needs. Where we typically find modifications is going to be in the kitchens, the baths, the entryways, and the passageways, which we'll get to later on in the presentation. Adaptable, again, the bathrooms. The photos here are showing blocking that is pre-installed. So that doesn't mean your client needs it today. And it really doesn't even mean that your client needs to know that it's in the wall or care to know that it's in the wall. It's our job as a builder or remodeler to ensure that we're putting it in the wall so that if they do need it, they're not tearing down the other side of the drywall or taking their tile off the wall and having to go through thousands of dollars more expense to bring these improvements that they need. Other types of adaptable design, making sure your door openings are wide enough. When I went through the course, I'd never even realized this was a thing, but actually strengthening the ceiling joist so that someone can be lifted from, let's say, a rolling hospital bed into a chair. Like, I was 30 years old and ignorant and, never even thought we would need to do that, And then the other thing is roughing in, electrical, HVAC, plumbing for future expansion. Okay, so accessible design is actually going to kind of circle around, well, how do people get around? If they're in a mobility device, whether it's a scooter, wheelchair, walker, how can they actually get into the spaces? One thing as to how to actually assess their needs, especially if it's in a remodeling scenario. I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever actually asked them to show you how they get around in the home, and then you follow them and you figure out where the issues are? The book actually says, look at the doorways and look at the casing. You'll see where they're rubbing, and those are the areas you got to pay attention to.
Or the places they don't go.
Exactly.
Because they can't get there.
Right. Visitable design means the first floor of every home essentially needs to be visitable by anyone, whether it's a mom with a stroller or whether it's someone in a scooter. If they can't get at least to the first floor of the home, use the restroom, get in the home, it's not a visible design. And then livable design goes on a little bit further. So it actually provides provisions in a bathroom so that they can use the restroom. It gives provisions in a kitchen so that they can actually see where they're working if they have visual impairments. Then also for doorways and hallways is just, essentially making your doorways 36 inches or 32 inches minimum so that they can get in and out of those spaces. And the key word, actually live there, okay? Not just visit, but live. Functional design is a little bit different. I don't do much with this, but it actually focuses on how can we make a space function more easier, safer, or more comfortable. One example is these kitchen pull-out shelving. I don't do a lot of this in my new construction, but if you can imagine the client pulling up into a wheelchair or onto a scooter wanting to get a glass of water, and traditionally their cups are in the cupboard above, well, they can't reach them. Well, what we could do is have this cabinetry kind of slide out and down so that they can grab a cup and then go over to the refrigerator or to the sink and get a glass of water. And then the other neat thing is the slide outs for the pots and pans. Everybody's got to be able to cook. I had a neighbor that literally was a double amputee, lived by himself, and he cooked his own meals, he did his own laundry, he was alone. He literally had family out of state, but he did things like this to make his life, more, I guess, I don't know the word, but actually be able to live, you got to be able to cook. So when we're talking about how do we actually modify the spaces, the biggest thing is going to be safety. It's going to be life safety is number one, fall prevention is number two, and then accessibility number three. Life safety is obviously having means of egress. So if you are in a wheelchair, you are in a scooter, you got to be able to actually get out of the home in the event of emergency. The other thing is burn prevention. So Rob had it on there. Water heater needs to be 120 degrees or less. You also need to make sure your showers, whether it's a shower head or a bathtub, has an anti-scald valve. Again, you guys can read, so I don't need to continue to hammer all of these things. Fall prevention is your transitions, have grab bars where they need to be. Accessibility, it's as simple as having a roll under sink for someone to be able to wash their hands or wash potatoes off before they cut them up to prepare them for food. And then also, how do we get them in the home? Zero-step entries, lever door handles, things like that. So for adaptable features, again, something that maybe the client doesn't need today, but may need later on in the future, our big thing as builders is going to be in-wall blocking. So this is a picture of a shower. You'll see that they literally did blocking all the way basically from finished floor level to about 4.5 foot in height. The reason for that is so that that builder can come in at a later date when Miss Smith or Miss Jones says, I would like to have that grab bar in my shower because, I almost slipped. Or the other thing is, hey, I do need a shower seat because my husband, he's actually in a wheelchair now. I want to be able to roll him into the shower, transfer from the wheelchair to the seat in the shower, and he can still wash himself. He can still use his own handheld shower head. But if you don't do this type of blocking, the client is going to have to basically tear open a custom shower, then put the blocking, and then do the handrails. So it's really just a mess.
Do you mark that in your plans?
So I don't mark it in my plans, but as a standard for me as a builder, every master shower has blocking in it. There's a lot of different ways you can block, but we essentially do blocking 36-inch center around the shower. We'll do blocking around the toilet areas, and we don't even ask our clients. It's really irrelevant. It's in the walls.
How do you communicate it? So care to be installed?
Yeah, so remember focusing on the so we don't really ask them, do you want this?
Right.
We share, hey, my name's Ethan. I'm a CAP certified builder. I'm, educated on how to keep you in your home as long as possible. As a standard, these are things that we do because we realize you may not need it today, but if you need it in the future for yourself or for a loved one, this is going to make your ability to stay in that home and maintain your independence for much longer. Entryways, which I do on every monolithic slab that I build, I do 0-step entries. I've actually done a home for 2 sisters who are both in their 60s. Every entry, whether it was from the garage to the house or the front porch to the house, all of them were 0-step entries. It's actually really neat because when I take people to go and see that home and I share with them about being CAPS and being custom builder, and custom doesn't necessarily mean expensive, it just means you have the option to be able to pick and choose what you want to implement in your home. I asked them, I said, do you remember stepping up into this house? And they never say no, or they never say yes. So I'll take them to the front porch. I'll show them the threshold. It's an ADA threshold. It's barely anything. I say, we do things like this to help you stay in your home as long as possible and to prevent falls. And I'll take them to the garage and I'll show them how I did it in the garage. And I say, not only is it, to keep you guys safe, but it's also, for the baby stroller, for, rolling in luggage, because, hey, retirees love to travel. I got clients that just went to Germany, had 2 cruises in the last 2 months, and, they're building a new home with us, and they also take care of their mom, who's 80 some odd years old and, essentially in a wheelchair. She can walk, but it's very tough. So, how do we get them into the home? 0-step entries. Okay, if a 0-step entry isn't possible, what we can do is we can change the riser height from 7 inches, the steps, to 4. We can use closed risers, especially if it's like, stepping up into a beach house, like there's exterior wooden stairs. Put a closed riser there. Don't let their foot slip. The other thing, increase the depth from 11 inches to 18 inches. If you will notice when you walk out of the stairs here, there's actually 11 inches on this circular staircase. It's 11 inches if you're close to the part that actually circulates the least amount of length, and then they get deeper as you go further in the radius. It actually matters because it helps people with walkers actually get up into that space with their walker. The other thing is non-skid material. We build beach houses on all of our dune walkovers. We will be putting essentially like a skateboard tape. It's it's like a granular, obviously non-skid material, but it's a tape that we'll put on the wood because we know that kids are coming from the beach. They're sandy, they're wet. They may slip on the step, or if it's actually a ramp, they may slip just from being silly kids. And then the other thing is actually having contrasting handrail colors. And the point of the contrasting colors just to help these clients see, hey, there's a handrail for me. Let's grab and maintain that. Ramps, the big takeaway from ramps, 1 in 12 slope as a maximum slope. So if you can do like 1 in 16 or 1 in 18, that would be even better, but 1 in 12 is absolutely fine. By the way, we're not held to any ADA standards or anything like that when we're building residential homes. So if you get in a situation where, and you may want to back me up on this, but you don't have the ability to do a 1 in 12 ramp, you could do a 1 in 10. It's better than having nothing, but it's not like we're providing, let's say, ADA accessibility to a commercial retail space.
Yeah, I mean, anytime we do it, it's absolutely like, we really evaluate every option.
Yeah, there's definitely.
And try to figure out some way or a different entrance or
Yeah.
how we can do a turn or whatever. 'Cause
Right.
It's really hard if it goes beyond that 1 in 12.
Yeah, I mean, just a, you know, a 4-inch step, which most steps are 7 inches, just one step to get in the home, and then you have another 4-inch step to get actually off the porch into the house. I mean, that's a very long ramp. So, common ramp mistakes, again, being too steep. 1 in 12 is the maximum slope, okay? But again, we're not actually held to ADA, so, you know, tread lightly if you do go about that. The other big thing is not actually having a level landing. So if you have a slope up to a porch and the porch is sloped, well, that's not a level landing. So what's going to happen to the wheelchair whenever the person goes to open the door for them? They're going to roll off that porch back onto the ramp. Uh-oh, big problem. The other thing is missing guardrails or not having adequate guardrails, and also forgetting your non-slip materials. I love Trex, but Trex is pretty slippery, so be careful using that. Got our elevator friends here. So, you know, elevators and lifts are really just one component of this whole system. I tell clients, at least in my market, so I build 600 to maybe $1.25 million, $1.5 million. I tell clients, if you're wanting to build a 3-story home, and you don't have an elevator, nobody's walking inside your home to look at it when you're selling it. Now, 2-story home's a little bit different. I have built homes, I actually have developed spec house plans to incorporate an elevator shaft. A 5x5 shaft is really what you need. Any less than that, it gets a little bit tighter. More than that, it's probably more space than you need to dedicate to that. But when I'm selling these to clients, especially in the new build setting, I'm talking about value, I'm talking about safety, and also independence. So, you know, I build at the beach. I've got a set of clients right now building in Polly's. It's a raised beach house, raised beach style home. It's 2 levels of actually living space, and the first level is parking. Well, they are retirees. They're in great condition, great shape. They like to play pickleball, but they realize at some point in their life they're going to get old. And so we have actually provided an elevator shaft for them, and that's in our contract to provide it to where that the elevator company can be called, and within, you know, a visit or 2, they can get on the schedule to have that elevator installed. One thing that's actually really neat, and I can't speak to whether or not you know, the elevator industry frowns upon these or not, but is actually the pneumatic elevators. I like these because if I've ever seen a home that actually has a staircase that is more of a U fashion, and it has this little circulation space in the center of it where maybe it's 4x4, 5x5, this type of elevator would actually fit in that space if it goes up to, let's say, the 2nd story where there's a railing or a balcony. So it could be an option to you know, help mom and dad be able to actually have a full bedroom and living space upstairs without having already provisioned for a full enclosed elevator. And then, you know, again, back to the situation where, hey, maybe a ramp won't fit. Maybe we don't have enough run for the amount of rise we need. Well, an outdoor lift, a vertical lift could be an option. These are basically having similar safety characteristics that an elevator has. You have to maintain constant pressure on the controls to actually make it go up and go down. It's got about a 500-pound capacity. So, you know, 2 people can get in and out of those. And correct me if I'm wrong, these can actually...
Nowadays are 750.
750? Okay. These can also, so it's not just getting up 3 or 4 steps. This can also go up to a 2nd floor of a home.
Residentially, they can go up 8 feet without it being in a shaft.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe not an option for like a raised beach house, but for, you know, a raised slab home.
They have to be in a
Enclosed. Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other option, which I think is really ugly, I'd rather just do an elevator, is a platform or a stair lift. It's the commercials that we used to see 15 years ago, the little old ladies riding up the stairs on her scooter. What they don't show you is the transfer from the wheelchair or scooter to the chair to get up the stairs, and then the transfer from that chair to another wheelchair or scooter. And then the other thing they don't show you is how bulky and annoying it is to actually try to walk around that piece of equipment if you're not that person who actually needs it.
Power goes off at church.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get to backup power. But yeah, so we're kind of wrapping up. At least we're getting closer to wrapping up. How are we doing on time? I know we definitely started late. We're at 12, so I think we're actually kind of supposed to be done. But here's kind of the the rough and dirty. Okay, how do we do this? How do we implement these things? Blocking in the bathrooms. You need a minimum of a 2x10. Center that on 36 inches from the floor height to 36 inches for your grab bars in your showers. Your next thing, okay, so a little thing about these grab bars, make sure they are ICC ANSI certified according to, A117.1-2017. Don't put a grab bar in somebody's home that's not certified. That's big no-no. The other thing for bathrooms, make sure that you're giving that client the ability to get around in that restroom. This is a photo of a large walk-in shower. There's no barrier. Okay, so a client can get into that space on a scooter or a wheelchair, transfer from their wheelchair or scooter to that toilet, okay? Or there can be a shower chair in there so they can transfer from the wheelchair to the shower chair. And you'll notice there's no glass on the shower. So glass is actually a no-no for building these showers when we know that somebody has accessibility issues. I mentioned it earlier, the roll under vanities. It's something as simple as being able to brush your teeth, wash your hands. It's maintaining your ability to continue to take care of yourself. So 27 inches is what they recommend. And also, little tip here, ensure that your plumbing is actually protected so that you're not burning the client. Let's say they are in a wheelchair, they roll up under there, they don't have any filling in their legs, and they've been running the hot water for 3 or 4 minutes. That could burn their legs. So, not my photo, but just keep that in mind. Like I mentioned, don't do the glass, but if this is more of, let's say you have a client who's a planner, they love glass today, they like that, you can put the glass in, and then 5 years later when they need to be able to get in and out in a wheelchair or a walker or whatever it may be, you can take the glass out and you can put a rod. So yeah, rod's going to be the safest alternative to glass. Your biggest thing in the shower is going to be your circulation space. And what that means is getting that mobility aid in the shower, turning it around, helping them get off, and stand up or sit in a seat like this. That seat there, so little tip here, that seat's actually a fold-up seat. They come in many different shapes, sizes. Some look really designer, some look very functional and not designer. So you can really still make these luxury bathrooms without having just this kind of sterile hospitalization feel to it. And about the shower heads, so definitely do two shower heads. Have a standard shower head coming out of a wall, have a mounted one, either mounted onto the wall or on an adjustable bar, and that one will have a hose. So that person could actually, as you see, sit in their shower seat, put that water where they want it because it's on a bar, or they could take that off and wash their hair or body or whatever. Again, let's maintain independence. Backup power. So I don't know if you guys sell whole home generators, but we've done them before. One of the new things that's coming out is the solar generators. So what it basically is a solar array on the roof of the home, and then essentially these big battery packs either in the garage or whatever. And this is important if you have a client on oxygen, if you have a client who has, let's say, just medical equipment that they need to obviously have power so they can keep living. Again, 30-year-old, really ignorant when I was taking the course. It's like, well, yeah, you want a generator, keep your food cold. People actually need them to continue to live. So we're really close to wrapping up here, so I'm glad you guys are sticking with me. The lighting, look, pathway lighting in the hallway, especially for somebody with visual impairments, super important. Task lighting, when you're in a work area, 4,000 to 5,000 K is going to be your best color. When you're more in a relaxed area, like a living room or a bedroom, 2,400 to 3,500 K. Light, so big pro tip, light the door lock at the front door or whatever door they're actually coming into, so that when they're trying to put their key in that door, they can actually see where they're putting their key. Because imagine you're just getting home, you're elderly, it's 6 o'clock, you got groceries in your hand, your wife's got a purse the size of a suitcase, try to find your keys, and then you're trying to put in the door lock. It's really tough. So focus that light at that door lock. And then also night lighting, especially in the bathroom and kitchen, is definitely helpful to those types of clients. So this is kind of getting into the weeds, but remember your doorways, 32-inch clearance minimum, really 36 is ideal. The thing that most people don't ever think about, look at the photo number 1. If you're in a wheelchair or a scooter, you need 18 inches of space to be able to wheel up to that so that you can actually grab the knob and open it, okay? This gets missed on basically every bathroom in America, okay? Neat thing, I didn't know these existed, swing away or offset hinges. This can actually give you the width you need. It'll actually take the door out of essentially the pathway. All right, so this is my last slide. Our big takeaway, why are we doing this? Keep the clients in the home, keep them safe, let them live comfortably, keep them independent, okay? Why is this helping me? You can niche down. Nobody advertises for this, literally. Like in my market, there's one person that does it as a remodeler that's actually CAP certified, and I don't even know who they are, never heard of them. If you are that person here, I'm sorry. But you know, I'm also going to say this: I don't market myself as this is all I do. What I feel like this helps me as a builder is when I meet with a new client, I'm sharing, hey, look, I've undergone this special training. If you think it's useful to yourself, let's talk about it. If you don't think it's useful to yourself, we're already doing things in our builds and in our design that's going to actually help you in the long run. You just don't know about it right now. So that's kind of the why. The key features, again, let's get them in the home, accessible entrances. We need lighting so they can prep food, spatial clearances so they can get around, 0-step transitions into the showers, slip-resistant flooring. If you ever do porch tile, God forbid, you better make sure that's a slip-resistant flooring, especially in an older person's home because we get dew on the floor in the morning. Things we can do in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and electric generators. So that's my presentation. If you guys have questions, happy to kind of stick around. I know we're probably, we're already over time. So thank you all so much for sticking around and listening. If you are a certified master builder, come please get your credit. We'll need you to sign up. If you're not, you can still sign up. You just don't get any credit for it. Okay? Questions? Cool. Thank you. Thank you all.